your picks, give me your insights. I want the bets from Betting Weekly. Because we win, that is our motto. Sometimes we win.
All right, here we go. Betting Weekly Live here with you on a Friday, the first Betting Weekly Live of 2026. Hope everybody had a very safe, happy, and healthy New Year. Mike Carver here with you along with Doug Kezirian as we get you ready for all of tonight's action and a bunch of stuff for the weekend, of course, with the NFL, Week 18, etc., etc. Doug, Happy New Year. Good to see you. How was New Year's Day with all the college bowl action?
Be with you. A couple days off midweek, right? A little weird not seeing you, but it's good. It was all these games going on, crazy action, and it's a new world of college football, right? Things are definitely changing, and we have a lot of moving parts. We can't chalk it up to one thing specifically, like NIL or whatever. But I wonder if what Nick Saban did for the SEC and making it this dominant conference, and where he was ripping off all the championships, and the SEC just got deference all along. I wonder if Zignetti's going to do this with the Big Ten. Now, long ways to go. We still got to win his first, but clearly we have the best coach in college football, and it makes sense. Obviously, he used to be on Saban's staff. They're very similar, have West Virginia roots. Dad was a coach, all that kind of similarities, but it's really awesome to see. And the playoff was designed for this. We now have seeds 1, 5, 6, and 10. We didn't know in the past who belonged in the playoff. We didn't know that it was a formula or a poll. It was stupid to have votes and just count on wins and not and losses. It's nice that we have a 10 seed that literally could win it all.
Yeah, it really is. It adds to more of a parity feel, I guess you could say, to the college football playoff, which we never had, of course, with 4 teams. You never really got that because you had the best of the best of the best. But I do wonder, Doug, and thinking about it, 2 years now into this with 12 teams, 7 of the 8 teams that had the bye lost outright. And I'm sure that that's a discussion that's going to be had. I know that's probably not the biggest sample size, but it's going to be talked about.
For sure, and it already is. Now, all 4 last year that had the bye were underdogs, and you throw out really 2 of them with Boise and Arizona State being double digits. So it's really, right, let's call it 6, 5 of the 6. And a couple of them were all 2-pointers and 1-pointers, but it's really the first half scoring, right? You had Texas Tech and Texas Tech and Ohio State shut out in the entire first half. Even Indiana, right? They had 2 dropbacks on their first possession, sacked both times. And then they get gifted field position with their defense and the bad play call on 4th down for Bama. So they get a short touchdown, and then had a nice drive before. And then Georgia was shut out in the first quarter as well. And then the second quarter had 2 offensive touchdowns. So that's really the key. Just the rust wreaking havoc in the first quarter. So that's something that needs to stop. Frankly, I mean, I just literally did an entire YouTube show on this, but we're trying to hang on to these traditions and stick the square peg in the round hole. We can't have it both ways, right? We can't satisfy both things. Just do away with this month off. We don't need bowl game. All this nonsense that we had. We waited a month and then had a week of festivities for an exhibition game. Fine. That's not the playoffs. The playoffs are multiple games over multiple weeks. Just do away with the Heisman ceremony, play playoff games the following week on campuses, and then the next week, and then you have the semis on New Year's Day, and then the championship game 10 days later.
They need to go to the Dan Lanning model, Doug. The one that Dan Lanning.
Yeah, he was brilliant with all of his comments.
Yes, everything that he's been pushing. Been a while. The days are much longer now. Hello from Boston, Steve from Lynn. Happy New Year. Good to have everybody with us in the chat box. And we will, of course, next week get all into the semis. We know Indiana, Oregon, Miami, and Ole Miss will play at the end of next week. And we will, of course, be all over that here on Betting Weekly Live. But we still have, Doug, some straggler bowl games hanging on here before we get down to just the playoffs. A bunch of games today, including right now, we do have the Armed Forces Bowl going on, where Texas State has now opened up a 34-7 lead over Rice as they are very early in the fourth quarter in that one. And then we have 3 other games this evening, including one that starts in about 25 minutes from now in Memphis, the Liberty Bowl between Navy and Cincinnati. Right now, as we look over At Bet Rivers, we have Navy, of course, sitting at -8 it has gotten to at this current moment, and a total of 58, Doug.
In terms of this game going on right now, the Armed Forces Bowl, now what Rice hasn't scored since a fluke touchdown into the first half. I'd be careful. If Texas State starts putting in the subs on defense, Rice runs a lot of misdirection, option concepts, things like that. So if the backups are in, you might get some big chunk plays that we weren't getting most of the year. Of course, there's a fumble now, so who knows? But I would lay it. Honestly, if you can lay a little over what the current margin is, if Texas State recovers, then I would lay 27.5 because that's the current margin. But it looks like Rice retained possession. But that's something to keep in mind. As for the next game, it's been one-way traffic. With all of this, whether it be week 18, bowl games, or even just an NBA game, you either want to be ahead of the line move or on the opposite at the very end. So once this game kicks off, taking Cincy plus the points is usually the right way to do it. Why is that? Well, the sharps, the respected bettors, the flagged accounts who influence the market are continuing to bet Navy at 6.5, 7, 7.5, 8. But they stopped, okay? They have a good number, and they think 8 is too much. Therefore, if you like Cincy side, things like that, usually that's the right time to come in when it's moved too much. That's typically the approach to this. You don't want to chase steam and be the last one there because, remember, they stopped betting it. That's why the number stopped moving.
Right. There you go. For Navy and Cincinnati in about 25 minutes from now at the Liberty Bowl. 2 games tonight, both just after 8 o'clock East. The Holiday Bowl, Arizona and SMU. Right now, SMU -1.5 at Bet Rivers with a 52.5 as the total. Holiday Bowl used to be one of those fun ones too, Doug, like the Sun Bowl and the Alamo Bowl with lots of points, but not so much the last few years.
Yeah, and this is a weird sort of matchup. I've touched on my ACC sort of prowess or lack thereof. I've had a tough time with some of these teams in that conference, and SMU's trending in the right direction. We heard the stories last year in the playoff, how some big boosters wrote the big check and didn't care about the bowl ban or whatever it was. They just wanted to get into the ACC and start playing with the big boys. Now, Arizona's interesting. Not the biggest Jed Fish left it and left the program there. We'll see what's happening with this program. I thought, they definitely dominated and down the stretch of the season, and I liked them in the Territorial Cup against their rival Arizona State. But I don't know about this. I would say Arizona if I had to play it. But they just have so many moving parts. They closed the year strong, but again, just a lot of moving parts. I just don't have a good read on this game. So as much as I'd love to get some action on Friday Night Football, I'm going to pass here. But I have a lot of NBA plays we'll get to in a moment.
Arizona's played a decent amount of unders this year. I know we don't really have a lot of the same components on both sides. You're going to be missing players here or there, but 52.5 I think might be a little heavy. Considering what we've seen in bowl season so far. Maybe even the slow start. We've had that in almost every game, right, Doug, except the Sun Bowl. I mean, it feels like we've had slow starts all over the place. So maybe some early under for Arizona and SMU. And then I always love when they dunk the mayo on the coach at the Duke's Mayo Bowl, which is in Charlotte. You have Wake Forest and Mississippi State tonight. Mississippi State, of course, a 5-7 team that's in a bowl game because of all the teams passing. And they are a 3-point favorite here over Wake. 53.5 is the total. I mean, Doug, it's been an awful bowl season for the SEC. Can we back them tonight?
Yeah, and you want to be careful making these grandiose statements with so many guys opting out and things like that. But ultimately, yeah, I mean, there's been people complaining about the SEC's corruption and just the propaganda shoving it down our throats. Now, I've always tried to have a rational approach. I was definitely anti-SEC, about a decade ago, the year after they sent 5 quarterbacks to the NFL, right? You're going to have a drop-off. Now, Manziel, Connor Shaw, Melon Mettenberger, those, you have to look at it. And so often we heard about it's the best conference, X, Y, and Z. Well, how do you define best conference? Top heavy, most championship contenders, the highest floor. Now, I think the Big Ten is obviously the most contenders at the top, but I thought the middle of the Big Ten was unusually weak this year. Whereas I thought the middle of the SEC was pretty good. I just don't think it was that top heavy. And all the narratives, they're just tired. Oh, the grind, things like that. Like, look, Tennessee didn't beat a team above 500. Kentucky was terrible. So stop telling me how it's a hard place to play. But every game's different, and obviously different opt-outs and who you play in the bowl game and how many guys they have opting out. But when there's big sort of records, like the Big Ten being like 8-2 or whatever it is, like that says something, right? But who they beat, it's like Oregon over JMU. I'm not going to notch another win for Oregon there. It's like, congratulations. So in this case, I would just say pump the brakes a little bit, but you're right. It's going to be interesting to see how the SEC fares now that they have to win multiple games in the postseason against other conferences moving forward, and they don't have Nick Saban there running dominant and rough shit on everyone else. As for this game, again, you got an ACC school. I've never been too impressed, but the line got up to 3.5 overnight at some shops. There's been some buyback. I would only get involved at 3.5. Not thoroughly impressed with Wake. I do like their coach. Mississippi State came on late in the season. I'm not in a rush to bet this game. I just think some of these games, look, there's a million of them. You got to pick your spots. This one's a little tough.
I will say about Mississippi State, and look, you look at it on the surface and you're like 5-7, they shouldn't even be here. That is like a little bit of an improvement for them this year. Like Jeff Lebby actually did start to turn the corner a little bit. Like they were in some games against good teams for a half. They covered. They were 8-4.
They should have had Texas on the ropes.
They did, and they were 8-4 against the spread this year. So I think with Lebby, there is a little like this could be a bit of a springboard. I know it's the Mayo Bowl, but I think that sometimes you got to look in that middle area of who actually can gain something out of winning a game like this. And I kind of think Mississippi State does, and they kind of go away from this whole the SEC has been trampled throughout this bowl season tack tonight. So I kind of like Mississippi State. But as you said, make sure you get 3. If it goes to 3.5, there's no chance whatsoever that I'd be on Mississippi State tonight for that. So bowl season wrapping up pretty much tonight. Aside from the semis, then we'll get to the playoff next week here on Betting Weekly Live. All right, if you have your eyes on a little plus money bet at Bet Rivers, Betting Weekly is giving you a little pizza money to lock it in. Use our pizza money bonus code, Betting Weekly 1218, to get a $10 bonus bet to use on any plus money bet at Bet Rivers. That is bonus code Betting Weekly 1218. You have until January 11th to redeem the code. Still some time there at any U.S. Bet Rivers sportsbook. Good for one bet for eligible players only. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Once again, the code Betting Weekly 1218 there for us for the pizza money bonus at Bet Rivers. All right, NFL Week 18 on Betting Weekly Live, and we kind of briefly touched on this when we were getting out the door on Tuesday, Doug, and maybe we should just kind of start there to reiterate some things because we're going to talk about the games, obviously, that do have some stakes on the table, with Carolina, Tampa, and Seattle, San Francisco, Steelers, Ravens, etc. But we know what we're dealing with here this weekend. You got to really read a lot of in between the lines with what some of these coaches are going to do in terms of who's going to play for pending playoff teams, who cares and who doesn't for teams that are going home. It's an extremely tough Sunday to bet in the NFL, Doug.
It really is. Obviously, the games on Saturday they're a lot more conventional, right? Like both teams know the stakes, both teams full throttle. So much on the line and so much to the winner. Like that's easy. A lot of moving parts for Sunday's games, and just be careful of the assumptions you're making. Like, for example, just because the Raiders lost the head-to-head with the Giants doesn't mean they're definitely going to lose on Sunday at home against a third-string quarterback. Like those guys were trying. They were just pretty bad, but Giants were pretty good, right? They're not your typical 2-win team. They had a lot of teams on the ropes. Like they should have won at Chicago if Jackson Dart doesn't get the concussion, things like that. They blew some games, like at Denver, with that crazy comeback by the Broncos. So I would just say, don't assume too much, and then ask yourself, what am I assuming? What do I know? But I will concede the odds makers don't like these lines. They put them up. The games are circled, which means they're lower limits, and they let the sharp accounts bet them, and that's why we've seen line movement, just like an NFL preseason game. But they typically don't like these games with so many guys out. They want both teams at full strength because they know the power rating, larger sample size to compute a betting line based on the data. But, it's hard to lay off games. And sometimes in pick'em leagues, we have to come up with angles and whatnot. So I'd say just be careful on some of these. But the one that sticks out to me is Raiders haven't clinched the one pick, and they're dumb enough to win.
They are absolutely dumb enough to win because you got to remember you have the skeleton of the Chiefs on the other side. And look, we're going to get to that game in a moment, Doug. There's actually something I like in that game on the back end. Let's do the games that, like you said, have a little juice. And you know what the stakes are for both teams. And that, of course, is the Saturday doubleheader, 4:30 East at the Pirate Ship in Tampa for the Panthers and the Bucks. Of course, Panthers win. They win the NFC South. Bucks win, and they become big New Orleans Saint fans. I still can't believe that's a scenario. They're going to have to root for the Saints to beat the Falcons on Sunday afternoon. -3 for Tampa and a 43.5.
I've been wrong on the Bucks for like 2 months.
Yeah.
And I will say they're better at home. Panthers are better at home than on the road. So this does shape up. But I'll tell you what, man, Carolina can run the ball down the throat. And if they stick to the run and the shine is off on Baker Mayfield, it feels like too many points. So I would be very careful laying the 3. It's very tempting because it's the NFL. It's not 3.5. And I think this one's coming down to the wire. Mayfield's just not been the same. And it's unfortunate, but that's the case. So I'd be a little careful here. I just, I'm a glutton for punishment, clearly, up until now. I just can't bet the Bucks anymore, but I don't want the Panthers. I don't.
I can't play the Bucks. I'm kind of with you. I've given up all hope on betting on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers again this year. This is the only thing I can hang my hat on. For about over 2 months now, the Panthers have had a very, their pattern is clear. Since they got blasted by the Bills in the middle of October, they have won game, lost a game, won a game, lost a game, won a game, lost a game, looked good, looked bad, looked good, looked bad. And they looked bad last week, Doug. So I think I'm going to hang my hat on is they're going to look good this week. The Panthers in Tampa again. It's so weird. It's just a bizarre year that they've had. And like you even put on here, like, Bryce Young, you're convinced that he stinks. Like, I'm pretty convinced that he stinks too. But I feel like their run game is the best thing in this game, is that Carolina is going to be able to run the football. And Dave Canales should be smart enough to know that and just run it. So I'm going to take the Panthers here tomorrow on Saturday. Going after.
I think when you're in a pick'em league and you really have no opinion, you just got to take the dog. Dogs bark, especially the last handful of years. There's more ways to win, right? You can win with the points. You can win outright. So when you're torn, just take the points.
A lot on the table in the night game on Saturday in Santa Clara, we should say. The San Francisco 49ers and the Seattle Seahawks. Seahawks -2, 47.5 is the total. Winner, 1 seed in the NFC, home field advantage throughout the playoffs. Losers got to go on the road, wild card weekend. As we saw last year, although it didn't end up mattering with Detroit, of course. They lost anyway at home. But you had Detroit and Minnesota in the same spot. Sam Darnold in the same spot last year and didn't get it done. You want to be home for all those games, especially the Niners, Doug, who, when you think about it, they really would never leave home because the Super Bowl is in their home stadium.
No, we go all these decades with no team playing in its home stadium. Of course, I personally count the Dolphins in the movie Ace Ventura: Pet Detective.
Yes.
But that's a separate discussion. But yeah, we see the Rams play in their home stadium, and maybe we get the Niners. I think this is Seahawks all day. If you look at the market, it's Seattle. And by the way, this is at the Niners, not the Bucks, just so people understand. But the Niners defense got shredded, and Caleb Williams is very good. So keep in mind. But I think Seattle's defense will do enough against Brock Purdy. I don't think he's going to be doing the Dougie in the end zone. I don't think he's going to be running around and against this Seahawks defense. I just don't see it like that. I would play Seahawks team total over, which is looking at like 25.5 kind of thing. However, just, my caveat, Darnold was terrible last year when the stakes were high, right? Week 18 and then in the playoff game against the Rams. Now, I think he's got another year under him. I think he's got a much better team than he had with the Vikings last year. It was a weird situation, especially in the playoff with the Rams having to be relocated to Arizona for their playoff game because of the fires in Southern California, and they were very emotional. So just a lot going on. Darnold's good. He's just not great. But I think the Seahawks can do enough. I'll say this. I have a buddy who's a very sharp bettor, big Seahawks fan. What he's done in these games is he usually bets Seahawks money line and also Darnold over a half interceptions. He thinks they win if he's clean, and if he throws a pick, they can sometimes win. So you either go worst case 1-1, but sometimes you go 2-0. He'll throw a pick and they still eke out the win. I think that's a fun way to look at it. But the Niners are on a roll, but they got guys banged up. I think both these teams are really well coached. I just think the Seahawks defense is going to be a little too much, and the Niners defense is going to be a little too loosey-goosey.
That's kind of what I circle back to here, Doug, is I think that the best unit on the field is the Seahawks D. And I know the Niner offense has been unbelievable for the last, really, months, you could say, at this point. Even before Purdy came back, Mac Jones was controlling the ship pretty decently. So, but I just think in a game like this, the best defense is going to come out, and that's the Seahawks. And they'll be able to hold them just enough, but the Darnold factor is so scary. That is such a scary way to, maybe you're right, throw the interception in there. That's not a bad way to go. 24.5 is the Seahawk team total, by the way, at Bet Rivers. 24.5.
I think it's a good bet because they're going to have to score. Shanahan's too good, right?
Yep.
Shanahan's just too good.
Look, this might be his best job that he's done this year. And as we've talked about a lot on this show, someone's going to get left out of this coach of the year that really deserves it. And win, lose, or draw tomorrow night, Shanahan's done an amazing job with the 49ers.
Well, and that's something to keep in mind. If you're sitting with the 20-1 ticket on Shanahan, like I gave out on this very program, and you might want to hedge a little bit, right? I think if the Niners win, based on some of the voters and on social media and columns and other interviews they've done on other platforms, Shanahan's going to win the coach of the year if they win this game. So maybe you protect it a little bit with the Seahawks money line, something like that. That's part of the equation too.
The Amish electrician, it looked like, is on the Niners money line. I just saw down there. Niners money line for the Amish electrician coming up this Saturday night in Santa Clara. All right, Sunday night, the last game of the regular season. You'll have a lot on the line for the AFC North with the Ravens and the Steelers. Of course, the Steelers put themselves in this position by choking it against the Cleveland Browns last week, had a chance to win, and this game mean nothing, and they couldn't do it. Ravens -4, totals a flat 41. Lamar Jackson going to be back for the Ravens on Sunday night as well. Should be a fun one, Doug.
This is a little tricky. I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I'd almost rather have Snoop in there than Lamar. Definitely if Lamar is nicked up, I don't want any part of the Ravens, and I want Hundley in there. I think I've been wrong on like 9 Steelers games in a row. So I'm probably not the guy to ask Carver for this one. I was impressed at times when I bet against him, and then Rodgers looked like all world. I just can't get these guys right and figured out. So I think the steam is probably right, though. But Tomlin has a way of kind of zagging when you think he's going to zig, and they pull games out of nowhere. And Ravens rivalry here and this Baltimore defense kind of got shredded at times by the Packers, right? So, yes, the Ravens were the right side last Saturday, and it got there. But the Packers definitely shredded them. Malik Willis did. So what happens, and we saw this with Phillip Rivers, they get to the line, the communication shuts off in the headset with 15 seconds to go on the play clock. That's not a big deal for a guy like Rivers or Rodgers. Rodgers wants to get up at the line, bark out fake signals, have the defense tip him off with what's going on, and then you can go from there. So if we see a lot of that from Rodgers, the Ravens defense could be in for a hurt. I'm taking the Steelers in a pick 'em +4, but I'm not betting this game.
Yeah, the thing with Lamar playing is, Doug, I feel like Harbaugh and Munkin, like, they think they're going to like offend Lamar Jackson if they do the Derrick Henry 35+ carries offense like they did in Green Bay last Saturday night with Huntley. Like, I think they feel like they need Lamar or want Lamar, and I'm sure he does too, to do a little bit more, even with him being somewhat compromised. If they stick to that program, they should get out of this game with a win. And that is riding the Derrick Henry train on Sunday night. That's got to be where they are. I know Lamar's back, but they got to stick with the formula, Doug.
I agree. And Lamar, when he's been coming off injuries and he's fresh, like he's looked the part and looked great. So I would just, proceed with caution. Tomlin has been doing this for decades.
Yeah. And he's got the excellent, of course, the home underdog ATS with Mike Tomlin is a ridiculous record in that setting. And he'll have it again on Sunday night. All right. Let me just do any other games that matter. And then we'll do the player props last, because that's a whole nother ball of wax in week 18 as well, with incentives and whatnot. There was only two others that caught my eye for Sunday, Doug. One was, you mentioned Chiefs Raiders. And it's 6 for the Chiefs right now and a 36. I actually like the under here because this feels like the game. And you see these sometimes in week 18 where the guys get out on the field and the bus is already running. I mean, these two teams can't wait to get out of there as fast as possible. I see a lot of runs, a lot of clock moving. Let's end this. The season's been miserable for both of us. They can't make the number low enough, this 36 with the Chiefs and the Raiders. It's a get-out-of-town game.
Interesting. So you think a shootout here?
No, I think under. I'm saying under. Okay. Get out of town.
Oh, they can't make it low enough. My apologies.
Like a 10-7. Let's run the ball. Both teams, it's like Pete and Andy are going to call each other the night before. Let's just get out of here as fast as possible.
Let's Rice kick a field goal there. 4th and goal on the 10. They've already scored, so it's not like they're trying to avoid a shutout. They're down 41-7.
Oh, boy.
With 5 minutes to go. Just go for it on 4th down. Like,
how'd you like
so ask the coach. So on the 5, would you have kicked it? Like what yard line? 6, 7? 7's your cutoff? Okay.
Did you like
ridiculous?
Did you like the Alabama field goal yesterday? Did you like that one? Alabama kicking a field goal.
But again, I sort of understand it.
Yeah.
When you're trying to avoid a shutout, and he could tell the defense had quit.
Right.
Whatever. These coaches, it was coaching malpractice last night. First Ole Miss at the end of the first half, and then Georgia at the end of the game. So, congratulations to everyone who thinks they have a genius in the Ole Miss staff. First of all, like 90% of it is gone for the next game because Lane Kiffin's going to take them. But your head coach didn't really have his guys prepared at the end of the first half, and then Kirby Smart's just a mess, making mistakes. As for this game, speaking of a mess, I would just be careful assuming the Raiders have the number 1 pick locked up.
Right.
The Chiefs still have a backup third string quarterback. They still have one team out the door. I think I saw on social media they did their Christmas party like middle of the week or their end of the year party. Like, I don't know what's going on. This team has gone to the 7 straight AFC title games. Pete chiming in. I like
He's with me.
Yeah. I would just say, are we getting Geno here, or are we getting Pickett?
I mean, I guess it would make a little bit of a difference. I don't know. I'm not. Yeah, Pickett's so bad.
So Geno's not expected to play. So I think we're going to get Pickett. I think under's a very good bet.
Let's go. Under 36. Get the bus running. We're going to get this done in 2.5 hours flat. In and out of there. The guys want to go party.
Just keep in mind, Pete Carroll's probably done. So the last thing he needs is a team to look pathetic. So There's a chance this dummy wins it. And let's pump the brakes on Mendoza being the next Andrew Luck.
Oh.
So it's not like there's a no-brainer number 1 here.
No.
So it's just you want the draft capital. That's the key.
And the other one, maybe I'm reading too much into listening to my own coach, but I do know that he likes to screw things up from time to time. Sean McDermott makes it sound like they care about this game on Sunday. I don't know if that's because they're closing the building and they want to have one last win going out of that old dump, the Ralph up there, Doug, or not. But he has made it sound like he's playing his guys in a game that he doesn't have to play anybody in. I have no interest in Josh Allen taking snaps against the Jets on Sunday in Orchard Park. But it sounds like that might happen, and a lot of guys might play, and you have the right team on the other side with the Jets, who maybe are 1 or 2 teams that you could tell the last few weeks have completely checked out. I think there's a chance, even if Allen only plays a half, that the Bills can cover this 7.5 against the Jets.
It's like preseason, so you got to be careful here. And then that's why you're seeing some first half lines like we see in the preseason. For example, this first half line's around 5.5, right? So they're expecting maybe Allen plays a half. Or the Rams game, right? McVay's saying he's playing the starters. The game line and the first half line are almost the same. And that's what you see in the first half. You don't see it cut in half, or sorry, in the preseason, because you don't see it cut in half and things like that. I do agree with the logic. Rust has been a bad thing for teams. Now, it's more pronounced in the NFL when teams had the bye and also sat the last week. That was never a good thing, right? Then you're having like 3 weeks off essentially, or 20 days. I don't disagree with the rhythm, and you want rhythm, you want routine. I don't disagree with the game week, suit up, go through, get some good, vibes, because the last time they were on the field, Josh Allen was having flashbacks and throwing the ball awry to win the game. I think to get, the Jets are a nice slump buster, let's call it. So you want to come out of your slump, have a nice drive, maybe 2 drives, get the muscle memory back, and then let the scrubs come in.
And there is a lot of guys, that kind of segues me to this, Doug. There's a lot of guys on the Bills who need like 1 or 2 things for like some big contract incentives. And that is the other thing that everyone has become a big sleuth with now every year in week 18 is looking up and finding out all the contract incentives for all these guys going into the last one. There's a few that caught my eye. Some of these prices, though, Doug, as you know, they get bombed down because everybody's betting them. Everybody tweets about them. Everybody tells you what they are. Dowdle needs a touchdown for like $250,000 for Carolina. And I think you get that anyway. That's a game that obviously matters. And he's at plus 125 right now at Bet Rivers. So I like Dowdle to score for the Panthers. Dawson Knox needs 1 touchdown for like $150,000 for the Bills. Whether that's Allen or Trubisky in there, I'm sure they know all about that. And they'll try to get it for him. I think it's just little things like that, Doug, that you maybe just try to look at on Sunday.
Yeah, and you mentioned it. It's not exactly Fight Club. Everyone's been talking about this. All the betting shows, everything like that. And odds makers don't have their head completely in the sand, right? We saw not Rico Dowdle. Who was it? Bourne on the receiver on the Niners, who was doing the money after the catch.
Yeah.
And then they talked about it on Sunday Night Football, and Melissa Stark did the report saying, I have an expensive wife. And so he sold out his wife, and I giggled, like it was a cute moment. I don't think he was like complaining to Melissa Stark about how expensive his wife is and he was losing sleep. I think he said it probably with her right next to him. I think he was laughing about it. But look, the odds makers know this stuff, right? And we have to say when is the price too much? And we talked about at the beginning of the show with these bowl games and the line moves, and are you late to the party? Are you early? The one that comes to mind for me is Caleb Williams. And obviously they're incentivized more beyond him becoming the first 4,000-yard passer in franchise history, but he needs about 270 yards. Now, I would put an asterisk next to it. If he can't do it in a 16-game season, why do we allow such? It's when I was losing my mind with the WNBA broadcast. They'd be like, oh, all-time leading scorer for a single season. It's like they just added 8 games to the schedule 2 years ago. You're telling me these like volume records are really like, it's insulting to my intelligence. But I would look at Caleb Williams over passing yards.
Yeah, that's one that's right there. I know that obviously never been the 4,000-yard passer for the Bears, and they've made a big deal about that all year. So I'm sure. And they got the Lions in there who they're receptive to giving up plenty of passing yards the past couple of months.
Yeah,
for sure. They have. So NFL Week 18 coming up this weekend. And when we come back on Monday, we will know the road to Super Bowl 60. I can't wait. We'll know the matchups for Wild Card Weekend, the dates, the times, etc. Fun times with the NFL playoffs getting going next week here on Betting Weekly Live. All right, we got more action tonight. NBA, 10 games on a Friday night. Let's go, baby. We'll start with the prime doubleheader, which will be in Cleveland for the first game just after 7:30 East. The Nuggets and the Cavs. Cavs right now minus 13.5 at Bet Rivers, 239.5 the total.
Yeah, obviously this is not the matchup that the powers that be, the suits, wanted on national television. But, look, Jokic is out. Denver now has 4 starters out, and Valanciunas, the backup center, is out for a little bit as well. He got hurt in the last game. The Nuggets gutted out a win in Toronto. Raptors were terrible shooting in the fourth quarter, but it also started how they started the game. Denver led by 9 after 1. I get it. They're NBA players and they're going to be playing hard because they want contract, all that stuff. But let's face it, this Nuggets team is a shell of itself aside from Jamal Murray and even guys like Tim Hardaway, things like that. So I think this is a banger on the Cavs. Cleveland, worst record against the spread up until about a week ago in the entire NBA. They were the only team with a single digits in terms of the win column and covers. But they have seemed to have flipped the switch with Evan Mobley's return from injury. They're playing much better. And usually, when these teams that are completely hobbled in a mash unit get a win, like Denver just did in its last game, they're a huge fade in the next game. So I think the Nuggets get rolled here. I think this line should be like 17.
Up and away. 13.5 for the Cavs tonight at home against the Nuggets. The second game of the prime doubleheader tonight, OKC is at the Chase against the Warriors, Golden State. 13 and another 13.5, but this for the Thunder, the road team, 226 flat. And I do believe, Doug, correct me if I'm wrong, no Curry, no Green, no Butler for the Warriors tonight. All of them out.
Yeah, I don't know if they're punting. I mean, look, the NBA knows better than to, I don't know, mess with the injury report, given what's happened with Chauncey Billups and whatnot. But it does look like they're laying down a little bit and punting on this game. But if Curry's hurt, he's hurt. If Butler has a virus or whatever, if he's under the weather, fine. It does look like the Thunder can roll here. This whole Warriors second unit with like Pajensky and OKC can flip the switch. But, they're not 30-0 against the spread. Like these point spreads do cover when you fade them, and sometimes they don't get up for their opponent. So it's a little tricky. The Warriors do sometimes play. They actually, you almost want to bet on them when you don't expect them to play well. You want to bet against them when you do. So that's my apprehension here. But that second unit for the Thunder is really dangerous. So that would be my reason I'd look at OKC here.
I guess we'll know tomorrow night there. I think they're playing the Jazz tomorrow night. How many guys will play for the Warriors tomorrow night? We'll know if they were punting tonight or not, right? See who's back in the lineup for that game. Elsewhere this evening, aside from the TV doubleheader, the Spurs are in Indiana against the Pacers tonight. Right now, Spurs road favorites at Bet Rivers -6, 238 flat. I did see a little, that Spurs Knicks game was great on New Year's Eve. I know everybody was probably very involved with Miami and Ohio State, and as they should. But Spurs Knicks was a nice rematch of that NBA Cup final that the Spurs just beat them out.
The worst beat of 2026 came on New Year's Day. Or was it New Year's Eve? Whichever it was. Yeah. It was the worst beat of the year. So what happened is the Spurs were trailing all game and then had a lead by 5 or 6 with a point spread of 3.5. And Wemby gets the rebound in the corner with like 4 seconds left, and he's dribbling. Brunson runs over, steals it from behind, and shoots a 3, fading from the corner 3, and it goes in at the buzzer for the worst beat you've ever seen. Seriously, like I can't imagine a worse beat, at least in the final seconds. There's games where like one team covered the entire game and then blew it in the last fluky way, but this was pretty bad. So the reason this sticks out to me is I like the under here. And why is that? Well, Rick Carlisle had some interesting comments after the Pacers' last game. He called out his team for having too much petty nonsense. Now, I texted some people who cover the league. I wanted to get to the bottom of this, some Pacers reporters. Carlisle would not expand when pressed on what he meant, but connecting some dots, it looks like sort of 2 things. One, the effort on defense, which he commended his team for only giving up 44 points in the second half after about 65 in the first half. And the other one was sort of stat chasing. So that's just, being focused on getting your stats, not focused on defense. No Wemby in this game. He did not make the trip for the Spurs. Now, he missed 14 games earlier this year. I think they went like 8-6 ATS and 8 to the over. So it's kind of like a wash. in terms of how they play. Now, that was 14 straight games. This is a one-off. I'm playing the under here. I think Carlisle doing positive reinforcement to his players about effort on defense, and then also, them not just taking the first shot available and being more efficient. I think we're going to see more of an effort that we saw in the second half than the first half. And this is what you typically want in these long seasons. You want sort of sports narratives or storylines that make this game different than every other game, right? Whether it's the revenge angle, you just touched on Knicks, Spurs, wanting revenge, things. It's the math guys who shape the market just use the large sample size of the entire season. But if you can get an angle that they can't really quantify or math model and do mathematical projections, that's when we might have betting value. And I think we do here at 238. It's a big number. Obviously, it's the Pacers. But this Indiana offense stinks. Like, they really can't string together 4 quarters of effective basketball. Now, their defense can't string together 4 quarters of bad defense, but they're just too unreliable. That's the problem, is they're inconsistent. They don't have a Halliburton. They just don't have a sort of a steady hand. Now, guys have gotten hurt, that were hurt have gotten back. Matherin, Neesmith, McConnell. But they leave a lot to be desired. I think we're going to see some defensive effort and not as good offensive execution. So that's why I'm rolling the under, and it's a big number, 238.
I'd like to also nominate, just for the worst beat of this week, that first half on Tuesday night with the Celtics and the Jazz that didn't get there. We can nominate that also for one of we of course
covered, game covered.
I know.
Third quarter over, second half went over, team totals went over, just not the first half.
I know. It was brutal. We were on that, of course, with the Daily Double on Tuesday night. Very unfortunate, as just a drought in the last few minutes of that first half between those two. All right, elsewhere this evening, let's run through quickly a couple of the others. The Hawks are at the Garden against the Knicks. Usually everyone gets excited to see Trae Young at the Garden. There's a problem, though, Doug. He won't be there. The rest of the Hawks will. They're getting 7, 242 flats the total.
I hit my mic button. I think it's worth discussing how much better the Hawks are straight up in ATS without Trae Young in the lineup. And it's not like 5 games. It's significant. This total feels low. I mean, the Knicks offense can put up some points. And even without Trae Young, this Hawks team, now their defense is better without him, but this feels like a short total, albeit a monster number at 242. I would lean over, and I would lean Knicks, even though the Hawks are way better without Trae Young. It's kind of thing where you only want to bet against the Hawks if Trae Young is playing.
I'm in. Knicks playing a lot of these games in the 130s lately. I mean, you look at some of these games the other night. I mean, even the Pelican game earlier this week was a monster number. They both scored a ton of points. So I'm in for Nick overs right now, especially with
they just played a few games ago and had 253.
Yeah. It's 242 feels a little light. Blazers are in New Orleans. Our Pelicans getting 3.5 at home with another big 241 for the Blazers and Pelicans.
Now, this number, I wouldn't expect to be the same total as the Blazers and Pelicans. So that's a little surprising. But the Blazers get up and down. They just don't have like awesome scores.
Right.
They get you by a lot of guys, and then they hit shots, man. Abdi is awesome, but the Pelicans will get up and down. So my Pelicans, do we classify them as my Pelicans? They're also your Pelicans.
We kind of said R. That's one that
Pelicans,
we have in
right?
R.
My Jazz, our Pelicans, and your Hornets.
That's my Hornets.
I'd be careful here. I think this will be a fun game. I think over's the way to play it, but I'd be careful on either of the sides here.
My Hornets are in Milwaukee, getting 6.5 tonight. Although I saw Giannis was a game time for that, but or flat 6 now. Excuse me, at Bet Rivers for my Hornets with a 232. I feel like both of them have played each other like 2 or 3 times in the last few weeks. The Hornets and the Bucks. They've had a lot of games with each other recently. And the last one I'll throw you: Grizzlies and Lakers late night at the Crypto just after 10:30 East. Lakers -4, 241 total.
I keep staring at this game, wanting to take the Grizzlies, but I just can't. I think the Lakers do bounce back. I mean, it's worth mentioning they're not the same without Austin Reeves, but their defense is pitiful. I just think it was a really good spot the other night for the Pistons, coming off a couple bad losses and whatnot. They pummeled the Lakers. Lakers complained that the Pistons foul 3 times on every possession, right? Away from the ball, going through screens, and the refs aren't going to call it. But honestly, it was the Lakers defense just being a turnstile. And Luka's not the same as he was when he started the year. That's the big thing. His effort on defense just isn't the same, and he doesn't play well off the ball. Lakers, when Reeves is healthy, have 3 guys who need the ball in their hands. LeBron's been better this year, probably better than most people anticipated, playing off the ball, but it's just not the same. And then you have guys who are supposed to be good defenders like Marcus Smart and Jared Vanderbilt. They're not. Guys like Ayton, Jackson Hayes do some things here and there from the center position, but this team's just not that good. This feels like another Luka team around 2016 where they're like, a 6 seed, a 7 seed, and they're just never getting past the first or second round. That's what this Lakers team is. Luka can stat pad and all that want. Whereas the Grizzlies have a bunch of dudes that fit perfectly. They play smart, and they're going to beat you. I just couldn't get there because I think the Lakers, their spurtability or their high is just so much better than the Grizzlies' kind of best. So that's why I had to lay off. But maybe an over. The Grizzlies, they'll get up and down on you.
Yeah, they can run. Absolutely. So 10 games tonight in the NBA. And BetRivers does have you set up with the NBA Friday SGP Profit Boost. Log into your BetRivers app or BetRivers.com account each Friday to receive a profit boost for any NBA same-game parlay. Profit boost is dependent on the number of legs included. See the BetRivers app or website for full details. NBA Friday SGP Profit Boost. All right, hockey on a Friday night, and it's kind of a special Friday night. There's only 4 games today. One of them's going on right now, as you do have Vegas and the Blues in St. Louis with the Blues up 3-2. But it is tonight, Doug, the NHL's crown jewel event, the Winter Classic, a tradition unlike any other, although it looks a little different this year because it's not on New Year's Day, it's not in the afternoon, it's not outside in the cold and snow, but instead it is at night under the lights in Miami for the Panthers and the Rangers. So a much different feel to the Winter Classic coming up this year. Tonight, Panthers minus $1.50 on the money line, Rangers plus 120. Lay the puck and a half with the Panthers at plus 170, and the total is at 5.5. I usually love betting the Winter Classic, Doug, just because it's fun. Like it's something different in the very long NHL season, but I don't know if tonight is could be characterized as the same as all the other ones. Like I went and looked, 10 of 16 under 5.5. It's usually a pretty slow game. But this is going to be indoors. They are going to open the roof, but it's 60 degrees out. This is not your typical Winter Classic.
So you don't think the trends apply?
I mean, look, I still think that there's some things playing in a much bigger space. You're out in a ball field, or in this case, obviously in a baseball stadium. I think that probably does take some time to adjust to. You listen to the players who have played in it before, and they tell you that it's business as usual and that once you get on the ice, nothing's different. I mean, I guess I have to take them at face value for that. But for the most part, these games, whether it's environment or whatnot, are pretty slow, sloggy type of games. I mean, you have the occasional 6-4 game thrown in these Winter Classics, but it's a lot of 3-1s and 4-1s and 2-1s and very low scoring games for the most part.
It's tough because this is a relatively small sample size in the outdoor Winter Classic and things like that. But when it's clearly a difference in the actual surface in the game because it's outdoors, I mean, it's hard to argue when you think of the betting angle. So I see both sides to a lot of that.
Look, it just comes back to, for me tonight, the Panthers are better than the Rangers. This is a big spot for the Panthers.
They are.
The Panthers, this game is usually reserved for the darling markets of the league. This is the Rangers, it's the Flyers, the Bruins, the Blackhawks, the Red Wings, all your big brands. And for the Panthers to get in this game, and they deserve it. They've won the last 2 cups. They've been to the last 3 finals. I think there's a lot of pride for that organization and for Paul Maurice and that team tonight. I think the Rangers are coming in playing awful hockey. I mean, they can't score goals. They can't win games. I think this sets up for a really good night for Florida. If you just take away all the other outside existential things about playing in a baseball stadium, I just think they're the better hockey team right now. And minus 150. I think it's good for it, and I think I'm going to lay the puck and a half too at plus $1.70. I'm going to go all Panthers tonight.
Okay, I'm not stopping you, but don't the Rangers play better on the road?
Well, yeah, we got that. The Rangers play better on the road. They haven't lately. They lost in Washington Wednesday.
Steve says it. Engblom.
Rangers. Well, you can't play any worse than they play at home. They've won like 2 games at home this year. They've been brutal at the Garden. 14-8-2 on the road. Take a shot with the road dog. Look, I just feel whatever game this is tonight, if this is a slow game, and will the humidity, if the roof open, add an extra bit of slush to the ice surface? I think that's possible. They are, as of a half an hour before the show when I checked, they are opening the roof tonight. It is 60 degrees and clear, and trust me, they've done this for long enough now that they have all the proper machines to keep that ice cold and to keep that ice decent. The only thing that really ruins these things, Doug, is when it rains. When it rains at these Winter Classics is when you get some really bad, choppy, awful ice. They've done enough now where they have all these machines that keep the ice nice and fresh and cool. So I'm not particularly worried. I mean, they did one of these at Dodger Stadium. They've done some outdoor games in the warm weather before. So I'm not worried on that front. I just think slow-paced game or fast-paced game, it's the Panthers. They're better. That's all I'm going to go to for this game.
Not be a scientist, but you did stay at a Holiday Inn last night.
Yes, that is true. Now we have 2 other late-night games after the Winter Classic, including the Kraken on the back-to-back in Vancouver tonight. We obviously always circle when the Kraken play a back-to-back, and they did lose that game earlier this week on the second night. Vancouver beat them last week 3-2 in Seattle. This is going to be, for me, Doug, I'll go after the Kraken tonight. I actually like the over a lot in this game, too. That's probably the thing I like the most tonight, honestly. It was 5.5 at Bet Rivers this morning. It's actually gone up to 6. They had 5 goals going into the third period last week when they played, and we had one of those anomalies where nobody scored in the third period, which was, listen, that doesn't happen
hard
very
to do.
often. It's very hard. Somehow it happened New Year's Eve day too with that Vegas game, the Vegas Nashville game. Nobody scored in the third period, and that game somehow stayed under for me. But I like this over a lot, and I like the Canucks too with the Kraken on the second night.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, we knew it felt fluky, the win they got. The question is, can we step up to the plate? And you think puck line. Can I interest you in a Kraken team total under? Because that's the only time I got involved was that Islanders game, and it was 0-0 going to a shootout.
I like the over though, so I'm not going to play. I want them to score a little bit tonight, so I'm not going to go there. And when they played Vancouver, same spot last week, second night of a back-to-back. They had 5 goals in the first period, 4 or 5 goals in the first period between the two, and then they bogged down and nobody scored the last 30 minutes of the game. So
Line's plus 155.
Want to puck line them? I can
just mentioning it. That's all
I do have the Vancouver money line in the puck parlay tonight. That's going to go out on Bet Rivers. So I do have the Vancouver money line in there for that. So I'll be rooting in that aspect, but I really like the over.
What about the Canucks? Canucks to get a power play goal minus 118.
Minus money to get a power play goal, huh?
High total.
It is a high total.
It includes overtime. You get the OT power play where the lineups change.
I'd have to see. I haven't dabbled in those enough. I'd have to see what that normally is for like good teams. Like the Canucks score a lot of goals. They're one of the top 3 over teams in the NHL this year. But I'd have to look and see what that is in some of these other games before I'd go and dive into that. But that is fun. I like betting stuff like that, just to get a power play goal in the game. We're so locked in on Kraken Canucks tonight, even though the Winter Classics.
I think you have to handicap my initial read on this, and to your point, I have not dove deep, but you have to kind of handicap the officials.
That would with the betting the power play goal, absolutely. You kind of have to see what those guys normally do. And the other late night game is at the Duck Pond between Minnesota and Anaheim. Minnesota's on this long 2-week, 7-game road trip. They're going to be in California for like the next week. They're playing the Ducks, and then they're playing the Kings twice tomorrow night and Monday. So they're spending a lot of time in the LA area. The Ducks have lost 4 in a row and 6 out of 7 coming into this. It's a tough one. I mean, it's probably the Wild, but I wouldn't mind having some fun. Maybe the Ducks with a little bounce back tonight. That would be my only. Or the Ducks run out of gas, Doug, would be my thing. Losing 4 in a row and 6 out of 7. Or the Ducks falling back to where they were from last year after such a great start over the first 2 months. That's kind of what I'm toying with right now with all of it. Minnesota's been playing some good puck lately. So 3 games for you tonight, along with the Winter Classic, the crown jewel of the NHL season. And I forgot, Doug, we have a special at Bet Rivers for that game. Winter Classic Wonderland. Goal to be scored in the first 5 minutes, 4:59, of Rangers versus Panthers, boosted from plus 180 to plus 240 tonight. So goal in the first 5 minutes at plus 240. If you like having fun,
this is your territory.
Fun. That's it. Listen, if you want to get a little gassed up and root for, I don't mind. Have a little fun in the first 5 minutes and root for a goal. I love stuff like that, especially for a singular event like that. I wouldn't probably do that on a random game like the Minnesota-Anaheim game, but for a singular event where maybe you're watching it with a bunch of people, having a little bit of fun, I like it. Have some fun for the first 5 minutes. College hoops. Conference play is underway. Let's go, baby. Including tonight, we've got some Big Ten action for us on both, I believe these games on Peacock. USC and Michigan. Let's start there. A heavy number for Michigan against this 12-1 USC team, Doug.
It's hilarious. This team's gone back to beating up teams by 40 or 50. But again, that's some of those were, the feeble opponents. This is interesting. This is really interesting. I would lean Trojans here, but I'm not betting it. I mean, this Michigan team scares the living daylights out of me.
Yeah, that's 21 and a half conference game in Ann Arbor. That is a lot. The game after that, Michigan State and Nebraska. 13-0 Nebraska against Michigan State tonight, also on Peacock. Michigan State now 12-1, of course, to start the season. I started 2.5 earlier at Bet Rivers for this one. Nebraska, the short favorite at home, Doug.
So I think Michigan State's coaching staff is going to say all the right things and try to get these guys up for this game. No, Nebraska's good. They're not going to get drilled by 30 like Wisconsin did. But I'm rolling with the Huskers. I think the mayor is doing a wonderful job. I think they're really a special team. I think they have a unique offense. I do think there's going to be a day of reckoning. I just don't think it's going to happen here. I think Nebraska 13-0 rolls to 14-0.
Rolls to 14-0 tonight. That would be a great win for them at home in that one.
Ninth team in the country. They're going to be going bonkers. But hey, everything's upside down, right? Alabama's a basketball school. Yeah. Indiana's a football school. So Nebraska might as well be a basketball school.
Tomorrow, huge weekend here. I'm going to throw you a bunch of them and let me know if you got any thoughts. Virginia's at NC State as the ACC's getting going. Kentucky and Alabama. Of course, the Calipari Bowl, they get going in the SEC. Tennessee and Arkansas. Arkansas. Bad job by me. And UCLA at Iowa. A bunch of really good conference games, Doug, for us on Saturday.
Yeah, these are all tricky, right? I think Virginia, NC State's going to be high scoring. I think that total's a little too low. I do think Alabama rolls Kentucky. I think the Cats steadied the ship, but that's at Rupp. They got to go on the road here. It's going to be a big number, but I don't think it's big enough. I think Alabama can run them out of the gym. I think Kentucky's still got some fundamental issues. This Tennessee team is going to be a good bet-on team come tournament time, but day in, day out, it's going to be tough. They have better offense than we've seen in these rock fights, but I gotta roll with the Hogs here. Arky -1.5 just feels too short of a number. So that's where how I'm reading it. And this UCLA team, I think they're very well coached. They're really interesting, but I love this Iowa coach and I love this Hawkeyes team. 4.5 is a little bit steeper than I was hoping for. I was hoping to catch late to lay 3 or something like that. But I think the Hawkeyes, they can drill them. they'll beat up teams. Like remember they had Minnesota, like they'll catch teams and beat them by 20. I think the Bruins they might be rolled here by double digits.
This is the weekend, Doug, where it officially flips for everybody. Like this is
right.
There's no more Saturdays with college football. This is the first Saturday where there's a billion college basketball games from noon all the way to midnight, and you get this now all the way through March. These Saturdays filled with like 200 college basketball games in them to get yourself rocking. So should be a fun first real conference Saturday of the college basketball schedule. All right, it is time. The best bets, the Daily Double here on Betting Weekly Live for a Friday night. I really like this over. I know it's moved from 5.5 to 6 in this Kraken and Canuck game. I'm actually for the Daily Double, Doug. I'm going to move that little marker back down to 5.5 for us.
Yep, that's the beauty.
I'm gonna use the Bet Rivers slider. And it's minus 129 for the over 5.5. So the Kraken and the Canucks, I'm going up, up, up and away.
I like your style. I think that is the way to do it. You could do regulation, something like that, especially, because it's like one of those, like you can't get to 6 in overtime.
Right.
I mean, it can, but it would automatically be over in regulation. So I like what you're saying. So I think we are going to have a Daily Double of plus 235 because I'm going to be taking the Cavs. I'm not going to overthink this. I shouldn't say that. I thought about the Spurs under with the Pacers game because of Rick Carlisle's comments and whatnot, but I'm going to go Cavs. It looks like the market's 13.5. It's 13.5 right now with Bet Rivers. So I'll lay the 13.5, just a shade under 2 touchdowns. And our Daily Double, my friend, is plus 235. So a little juicy on your part. So that's why we're under the 250, but no more bad beats. All right. That's a New Year's resolution here on the show. No more bad beats like we had with the Utah first half total the other night.
We do not want that. Seattle, Vancouver over 5.5. Cavs minus 13.5. The Daily Double for Betting Weekly Live plus 235 at Bet Rivers. Let's head into the weekend on a very good note. Doug, tremendous job. As always, enjoy the weekend. We're back on Monday, of course, 4 p.m. East, 1 p.m. Pacific, and no more of this holiday breaks in the middle of the week, Doug. We're back Monday through Friday next week. We're going to have NFL playoffs. We've got the semis in the college football playoffs. We are going to be rolling every single night, once again, after all the holidays. So, Betting Weekly Live, Betting Weekly Studios, of course, Bet Rivers Network, Mike Carver, Doug Kezirian. Have a great weekend, and we will see you back here on Monday.